Welcome to the new international headquarters of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Community. Today, MTA International is presenting an exclusive tour of the new markaz here in Islamabad, Tilford. We'll be taking you around some of the key sites of this wonderful complex. We will be talking to some of those individuals who were involved in this historic project and learn how this wonderful complex was built. But most importantly, we will be sharing the key guidance and instructions given by Hazrat Khalifatul Masih to make all this possible. We begin at the heart of the complex, the mosque. Now this mosque is special for many reasons. It is named after a revelation of the promised Messiah ﷺ. It is the mosque where Hazrat Khalifatul Masih leads congregational prayers every single day. But it is special for another reason as well. It looks like no other mosque in the world.
ये मस्जिद जो है, इसका जो नमाजियों की गुंजाइश का एरिया है, ये तकरीबन 314 वर्ग मीटर है, यानी 500 के करीब नमाजी नमाज पढ़ सकते हैं। डिज़ाइन ऐसा है कि बिजली की बचत है और एनर्जी की बचत है, और इसके अलावा जो तामीर है वो भी माहिरीन के नज़दीक आम तामीर जो है उसकी निस्बत सस्ती है।
To grasp a better understanding of the design and how it was achieved, I met with two individuals who were involved in the Islamabad project since its inception.
तामीर का जो मंसूबा था, इसमें एक मरकज़ी कमेटी बनाई गई थी जो वक्तन फ़वक्तन जायज़ा लेती रही और मुस्तकिल निगरानी करने वाले भी कुछ दो शामिल किए थे इनमें, जो एक तो वक्फ़े आर्जी के थे इदरीस साहब, और एक मुस्तकिल वक्फ़े नॉलेज के इंजीनियर हैं हमारे वक्फ़े ज़िंदगी फ़ाते, उन्होंने मुस्तकिल निगरानी भी रखी है।
By the grace of Allah, the unique design of the mosque has become a key feature of the new markaz, and it was by the grace of Allah and the guidance of Hazur, his aesthetical awareness, his technical appreciation above all else is the reason why we were able to achieve this. So the actual form of the mosque is specific for the 32 fins that form the shape of the outside of the mosque, and this form is replicated inside as well. The reason why we have 32 fins is really due to the geometry of the actual design. Each fin has a window on one edge of the fin, and the minimum width, we wanted a minimum width for the window, and based on that calculation the geometry worked out to accommodate 32 fins. The other unique thing about this design is that the whole structure is formed by these 32 fins. As well as that, the fins are twisted and slanted. So this was a really big challenge when we were constructing the mosque.
It must have been difficult to achieve this complex structure.
The superstructure comprises of RC concrete wall, and then the whole structure above that, which is composite structure of steel, timber, and then GRP finish on top of that, is sitting on that concrete ring. What we have to do, there was two different stages basically. The concrete ring was completely built separately, and the structure above the concrete ring was built separately as well. So to build this structure above the concrete ring, we had to put a lot of temporary work, and that was a massive temporary work that we had to install here. So what has actually happened, we built up a temporary platform structure with the steels, and then built the whole structure including 32 fins and domes and everything, which was sitting temporarily on top of the temporary structure. And then at one stage we had to shift that whole structure onto the concrete ring. So that was quite critical and complex stage, and a very precise engineering was required there.
Now, many people might be wondering, why this brown copper color? What's the reason behind this?
The actual copper material has been used on top of the fiberglass as well, so that it can give us a complete copper look and behave like a copper as well, as a result of weathering.
So as we heard, the mosque is made up of two stages. First, this unique structure, which is 32 fins that have been twisted and slanted to give this unique effect. And this sits on top of a concrete ring that forms the actual basis of the whole structure. So the material is made from solid fiberglass that has been coated with copper to make it long-lasting, durable and sustainable. A minaret and dome. These are the key essential features. So let's see how these were designed and what was the inspiration behind them.
There were two key aspects that Hazur instructed us to feature within the design of the minarets. Number one was the octagonal shape of the minarets, which resembles the shape of the Minaratul Masih. And number two is the two stages of arches that you see inside the design of the minarets, and these are actually illuminated from within. The second thing which is important when looking at the design of the mosque is the dome and the finial of the dome, which is the decorative piece which sits on top of the dome of the mosque and the dome of the minarets. So when we were designing this finial, Hazur instructed us to look at specific famous mosques around the world. So we prepared different designs based on these different mosques, and ultimately Hazur approved the design you see today, which is based on Masjid Nabawi.
Let's go inside and take a closer look at this engineering excellence.
Now that we're inside, you can see that this unique design has been replicated inside. Now, the overall beauty of this mosque is all down to Hazur Nur's guidance. Each and every key aspect of this mosque, from the color of the carpet, the style of the carpet, to the style of the mihrab, was all down to Hazur's guidance and Hazur's aesthetical awareness.
One of the first things you notice when you step in is this beautiful calligraphy decorated all around the mosque with the names of Allah the Almighty.
और मस्जिद के अंदर जो कैलीग्राफी की गई है, ये इतनी ज़्यादा कैलीग्राफी पहले हमारी मसाजिद में नहीं थी, लेकिन क्योंकि इस मस्जिद का डिज़ाइन ऐसा था, इसलिए मैंने कहा कि करने में कोई हर्ज भी नहीं, अल्लाह ताला के सिफ़ात और नाम जो हैं वहाँ लिखे जाएँ, कोई हर्ज नहीं है.
I remember during one of Hazur's final visits, we were all inside the mosque, and Hazur was just looking up at the roof structure of the mosque. There and then Hazur calculated how many fins there were, how all the names of Allah can be fitted into this scheme.
The primary purpose of the mosque is for the 5 congregational prayers. Then there are also the sermons of Hazrat Khalifatul Masih, which are also delivered from here, and the various other religious activities that take place. It is essential, therefore, that the acoustic design is taken into consideration.
Hazur Sayyid bin Nasir al-Aziz guided us and instructed us to carry out fundamental tests to determine whether or not we would actually require further acoustic treatment to the fins. But once we carried out the test, we ultimately, from that test, we determined that we wouldn't require any further acoustic treatment. But Hazur didn't stop there. When he came to visit the site on one of his visits, this was closer to the end of the construction, Hazur carried out his own test. Oh. So Hazur instructed a Munir or Desai to stand at the mihrab and recite the azan. And this was actually the first azan that took place in the mosque. And following that azan, Hazur passed that the acoustics were okay.
That was the mosque, Our next stop is the multi-purpose hall.
By the grace of Allah, the multi-purpose hall fulfills the functional needs of the site. We have a large hall. We've got washroom facilities, dedicated prayer space for lajna, and a commercial kitchen.
So walking around the hall, this multi-purpose hall, there's a whole wooden feel about it that blends in with the whole surroundings in this countryside and the rest of the complex. So I asked the experts, is this by coincidence or by design?
Now this composite cladding is basically a composite material made of wood and plastic and mixed with some resin.
When we were deciding what cladding to use, we presented all of these different options to Hazurian, where there were so many different types. There was an endless amount of options available. So in that situation, Hazur guided us in a specific route to follow, which was this composite cladding. But then not only that, there were so many different colors, textures, and available within this specific type of cladding as well. And all of these different samples were again presented to Hazur, and Hazur were graciously approved the cladding that we see today.
Now standing from here, and those who have seen some aerial footage of the site on MTA, you can see there's grass growing on the multi-purpose hall on the roof. So I asked the experts what was the reason for this.
This was actually a requirement of the planning authorities, because the building is such a spread over such a large area. By adding this green roof over the building, it camouflages it and it blends into the natural environment.
Allah Ta'ala ke fadl se ये मस्जिद जो है, इसका जो नमाजियों की गुंजाइश का एरिया है, ये तकरीबन 314 वर्ग मीटर है, यानी 500 के करीब नमाजी नमाज़ पढ़ सकते हैं। इसी तरह हाल है जिसमें 1200 के करीब एक जगह और 110 के करीब एक जगह लोग नमाज़ पढ़ सकते हैं। फिर हॉल के आगे एक खुला जगह भी है, छता हुआ, उसकी एंट्रेंस, वहाँ भी तकरीबन 300 आदमी नमाज़ पढ़ सकते हैं। तो इस लिहाज से यहाँ गुंजाइश जो हो गई तकरीबन 1200 और 300, 1500, 2000 से ऊपर की गुंजाइश हो गई।
Our next stop is the office block.
दफातर जिनसे मेरा रोज़ाना अमूमन ज़्यादा वास्ता रहता है, वो भी यहाँ हैं।
Compared to the offices in the Fazl Mosque, by the grace and blessings of Allah, these new offices in the new markaz are much more modern, much more spacious, and have state-of-the-art technology. For example, there's the private secretary office, there's the mulakat office for the countless people that come to meet the beloved Khalifa. There's Wakalat Mal, there's Wakalat Zabshir, just to name a few.
These three key blocks. The key thing about these blocks is that they've been built on the exact same footprint as the original buildings, same volume and the same size. And this was a planning requirement that we had to meet. And the only way this was achieved was with Hazur's guidance. Hazur looked at each individual block initially. Then Hazur, by his grace and wisdom, divided and allocated all the different spaces accordingly.
सोलर एनर्जी के भी हर जगह पैनल लगे हुए हैं। इसके अलावा तमाम जो सहूलियात मौजूदा ज़माने की हैं वो असर करने की कोशिश की गई है। ये मंसूबा ऐसा है कि बावजूद बहुत बड़ा होने के, इसके लिए कोई अलहदा से माली तारीख नहीं की गई, और जहाँ तक मेरा इल्म है ये पहला मंसूबा है जो बगैर किसी अलहदा तारीख के अपनी तकमील को पहुँचा है।
Our final location for the tour are these residential blocks. Now these blocks, all these houses all together, give the markaz a village vibe. a village dedicated to the service of Islam.
So in total there are 33 dwellings which are serving the needs of people working in the offices and looking after this site.
Walking around these houses, they seem very well built and modern.
खिदमत करने वालों में से करीबन 29-30 लोगों की रिहाइश भी यहाँ है अच्छे मुनासिब घरों की सूरत में.
I wanted to find out how Hazur had guided them regarding these residential blocks.
Just like the main administrative side of the development, Hazur had such a keen interest in the overall design and the construction of the residential phase as well. And as the most amazing thing was Hazur had such care of the comfort and the usability of all of these buildings for the occupants.
So there you have it, dearest viewers. Our tour has come to an end. We have shown you the key locations here in the new markaz of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. But undoubtedly in all this, there has been one common factor: the continuous guidance and instructions of Khalifatul Masih. And without it, none of this would have been possible. We leave you with the vision of Hazrat Khalifatul Masih, of what this new markaz is to achieve one day.
इसकी अहमियत